Good morning. Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Please share my channel. Please comment whether you agree with me or not. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here. And I do really hope that you will comment and share your thoughts. I love hearing from you, so thank you for that. So today we're just going to get started. I am still working on this book. It is Just the Words of Jesus. And after going through a year and a half of quantum theory and basically trying to discover what our reality is made out of, taking that dive, what I have really come to the conclusion of is that, whether we want to look at God as a he, or whether we want to say that God is just the I am, whatever we decide for ourselves, we all have a window of our own perception. We all read things, see things, learn things, study things, and it goes through the process of going through us as individuals, and then we see things, we perceive things differently from other people sometimes. And sometimes that can create discussion, sometimes that can create acceptance and understanding that we're not all exactly the same. Sometimes that can create conflict. And so when two people see something in a different way because it's been processed through the window of their own experience, sometimes they can say, okay, well, that's your experience, and I can respect that. That's where you are on your journey. That's where you are in your path. I may not see it that way, but I respect that you do. That's the way I approach it. I used to kind of, I don't know if I ever told people you're wrong. I just came right out and said you're wrong, but I really got irritated with some people. There were times when I would say, oh, the way these people do this and the way they think that. And I sometimes even now, on my videos, I'll do that, like, oh, it just bugs me the way people do this. But, everybody is here. We're here on our own individual journey. We're here on a path. We're here to discover. Some people are in a certain place where they have learned whatever. Other people have learned other things. We're not all learning at the exact time, the exact same things in the same way. So I have decided I'm just not going to battle anybody over what they believe. But there are people who will. There are people who will battle to the death. And they will battle to the death and just really trying to dig it in that they are right and you are wrong. So Jesus warned about that. He warned that when he came to bring us the truth, when he came from outside of the realm that we live in, we are in this, what sometimes some people call it the matrix. We're in this realm, in this world, this temporary physical experience. We are having this experience, and Jesus came from outside of this experience to come share with us, okay, this is who you are. This is what's going on. It's kind of like if we were in here trying to, figure it out, and we're all scratching our heads like, what's going on here? We just had this one light being that came straight from God, outside of this realm, to us, and appeared to us in the same physical form that we appear to each other, and gave us all these instructions. So I have been reading Just the Words of Jesus because I really want to. I don't believe that the whole rest of the Bible should be thrown away. I think it's all useful. I think it all has meaning. I think a lot of the meaning in the Bible is between the lines. I think it's spiritual, and it gets to us we absorb it in our spirit. But I wanted to kind of just push away Paul and the Old Testament, the prophets, and everything else that's in the Bible, and just stick to the words of Jesus for a while. I just wanted to hear him out without everything else around it, because I wanted to know, what is it that Jesus himself actually taught us? What did he come to say outside of all the other characters in the Bible? So I haven't thrown away my Bible, so, but this is just what I'm sticking to right now, and I wanted to share it with you. So right now, what I'm looking at today is it's Matthew 10 and Matthew. Let's see, there's Matthew 10, Matthew 12, Matthew 15, Matthew 19. This is all in Matthew, and then we have Mark 3 and Mark 7. I don't know if and Mark 10 and Luke 8, Luke 12. There's a lot of this, so I'm not going to get to everything today. I'll probably do this in chunks. But right now I'm going to talk about Matthew 10, and then let's see, let's just stick with Matthew 10 because I think that's deep enough for now. Matthew 10, if you want to follow along with me, I'm in Matthew 10, 34 to 37. Oh, my camera just keeps sliding here, sorry. All right, so Matthew 10, 34 to 37, I'm just going to read it, and this is in the King James Version. It says, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth." That's a mouthful of a sentence for us in this modern day and age, isn't it? But we're breaking it down here. So, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. So basically what that is saying, if you're translating it the way I am, don't think that I came to send peace on earth. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. So I came, and it specifically though says, I'm going to go back here. It says, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. That am in there, it doesn't seem to fit with our language. It doesn't flow with our language, but that's an I am. I don't want to neglect that. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. So maybe he was specifically saying I am, like God, I am. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm taking that to say that he didn't come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace. Well, that answers the question, but a sword. I think a lot of us know this verse. I came not to send peace, but a sword. Okay, so let's figure out what he means by a sword. For I am, there's I am again. For I am come. He didn't say, you know what? It just hit me. Jesus didn't say, for I come. For I have come. I have come. Because when we call ourselves I without the I am, I is our ego. That's my individual self, separated from you, separated from God, from Christ. That's me. I. That's my ego, man. But if I call myself I am come. That's Jesus' way of addressing himself. He's not addressing himself in his ego form. He's addressing himself in his spiritual form. I don't know. What do you think? It just hit me that maybe that's the case. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father. At variance, like conflict, against his father. So you're a son or a man, and you have a father, and he came to set you at odds with your father. And the daughter against her mother. I just lost my mother less than a month ago, and we had a lot of headbutting, a lot of conflict in my lifetime, and then we made up and we got to understand each other, and we came together and we made peace. But you know, there were differences with my mother. I was not always on the same page. She was not always on the same page with me, and I know what that feels like to have conflict with your mother. I do believe that in our hearts we should love our parents, forgive them, forgive ourselves. I do believe in that. But yeah, that hits hard. A daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. So basically family members. He's just pointing out family members that are going to be conflicting. So, you know, I guess we have to ask at this point, what kind of conflict? Are we just going to be arguing over what to have for dinner? That's kind of dumb, but no, if we're going to be arguing over spiritual matters, we're going to not be seeing the same things in the spiritual realm. We're going to be seeing, some people are going to be seeing things based on religion and traditions, and some people are going to be seeing things based on different densities, different spiritual, through different spiritual eyes, and will come to conflict over that. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Wow, foes. So that's like the Thanksgiving dinner table when you're arguing with that uncle over politics. Your foes come from your own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So basically what Jesus is saying here is that if you're having conflicts with your family, If they are trying to change your mind, or if you're trying to make peace with your family by saying, okay, well, maybe Jesus didn't say that, and maybe we should go ahead and, do this, and if you're wanting to be just a peacemaker here on this earth, in this world, in this worldly realm, Jesus says, if you do that, if you're just trying to make peace and you're turning your back on me to make peace with your family, then you're going to be outside of the kingdom of heaven if you do that. So you have to be willing. You have to be willing to have conflict with your own family. You have to be willing to strongly disagree and stay that way, to be on Team Jesus, at all times. And one of the things that I noticed about families is that a lot of times people take moral code. This happens in politics, which is why they say never argue, never talk about religion or politics. But people who are close oftentimes talk about those two things. And in this world right now where we're living, I think those two things are the things that we are talking about the most, with friends, with family, with strangers, with just about everybody. You can't put on social media without seeing something about religion or politics. It's everywhere. But Jesus didn't say don't ever talk about religion or politics. Jesus said bring it up, talk about it. Not so much politics. He wasn't pushing politics, but as far as, the salvation is concerned, as far as what realm we're in, and as far as God and our relationship with God, he wanted us to talk about that all day long. So not talking about religion, that will keep you out of conflict, but that goes against what Jesus tells us to do. He doesn't say don't talk to your family members about religion. Talk away, share away, and be willing to conflict with them. Don't ever turn away from what Jesus taught you just to keep the peace with your family. So that's what I'm taking out of this so far. I'm just going to end this right now here. The Matthew 10 part, I think that we've gotten far enough for today. Just basically to keep in mind that we are going to have conflicts with our family. It hurts. I don't think there's anything that hurts more. He actually even mentions, I'm going to read a little bit more. Matthew 12, it says, "Who is my mother and who are my brethren? Behold, my mother and my brethren, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother." So he was basically saying, a lot of people post this meme, family isn't always blood. Jesus was basically saying, whoever is doing the will of my Father, that's my family. And sometimes my actual blood family here on this earth, they're outside of that. I don't think there's anything more painful, especially than having a child that you conflict with. As parents, we love our children more than anything. And it's so hard if we have conflicts with our children, and if we're not seeing spiritually eye to eye with them, we want to sometimes just kind of make the peace with them. It hurts to be separated from your children. I have a lot of clients whose children have basically shunned them, rejected them, and they are wounded and hurting people. They're older people who are living alone. Their children aren't talking to them anymore over whatever. And those are some hurting parents. And I know that when we have family members who we love and we were raised, brothers and sisters, or people that we were raised with, and then we start to clash, especially over spiritual things, and we just don't see eye to eye, and we just go off on our own different densities, our own different directions, and we just don't talk to family members, that hurts. It hurts more than anything. But we have to be able to understand that just because people are born into our family doesn't mean they're going to be our spiritual family. Ooh, that hurts. That's hard. But we have to continue on with our spiritual family, sometimes without family members. Now, we can pray for them, or we can, I don't think it's wise to get into conflicts where I'm right and you're wrong. But if we're coming right out and talking about things that Jesus said, and they're just straight up, I don't believe in that, that's just a bunch of BS, and you're just an idiot, and you're stupid, and what are you, a child? You believe this ancient book of fairy tales? And you hear people saying things like that, and, I don't think that it requires arguments, but I do think it requires stepping away and just understanding that they're just not where you are. So stick with the people who are, like they say, in your tribe. Stick with the people who are like-minded, who are like-spirited, who are in your density, and understand and accept that there will be family members that will be outside of that density. Will they ever join you in that light? Possibly, sure, why not? I mean, people change all the time, people grow and change, but we can't step in and try to manipulate that. We can't try to change them. We can be a light in front of them, and we can be a light when we're around them. We can give them the grace to be where they are, and we don't have to argue and tell them how wrong they are. That just upsets people and pisses them off. So, I mean, if you get to that point where you're just trying to be right, then you're kind of ego against ego. But continue to walk in the light, continue to walk in that density, in that spirit of Jesus. Just continue to walk in that and let things go, let things be the way they are. And maybe your loved ones will join you there and maybe they won't, but we have to accept that. So that's what I got out of that verse. If you have anything different to share, please let me know. If there's, I'll probably start tomorrow back up with this same lesson, because there's a whole lot more to this. That was just the first part of it. But join me tomorrow, and whenever I don't know if I'm gonna actually post it the very next day, but I've been posting about every 2 or 3 days. But I'll try to get these videos out as often as I can. But thanks for being here. I do appreciate you. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.